They laughed when I showed up for work in second-hand clothes, whispered behind my back, called me the charity case to them. I was just another poor nobody, someone who cleaned up their mess and stayed invisible, but they had no idea what I would uncover. No idea that the truth was buried right under their marble floors. It started like any other day. I was wiping down the edge of the old study bookshelf when something slid out from behind the wood paneling. Just a yellowed envelope, but inside was a secret that could destroy everything they had built. In that moment, everything changed. Their perfect life cracked open. Their cold stares turned to fear. And me? I went from being the girl they mocked to the one who held all the power. Because when you have nothing to lose, you're not afraid to expose everything. Before all of this, I was just trying to survive. I lived in a small, cramped apartment with my mom. She was sick to work, and every morning, I'd get up at 5 a.m. to make her tea before catching the bus to one of my 3 part-time jobs. We didn't have much. Sometimes the fridge was nearly empty, and winter meant sleeping under coats because we couldn't afford heating. But we had each other, and somehow, that was enough to keep going. School had been a luxury I had to give up. I was smart, and I knew it, but being smart doesn't pay rent. So instead of classrooms, my life was kitchens, laundry rooms, and rich people's dirty dishes. I'd see them sometimes, those kids in designer clothes, stepping out of black cars with drivers who called them sir and miss. They never looked at me. If they did, it was with that look, the one that says, "You don't belong here." Still, I never let the bitterness eat me. I held on to one belief, that life had a funny way of turning tables. I used to dream while I scrubbed bathroom tiles of a better life, of walking into a room and not feeling ashamed of my shoes, of being seen, really seen. When I got the job at the Whitmore estate, the richest family in the city, I thought it would just be another paycheck, another kitchen, another cold stare. But I was wrong. That house held secrets they thought would stay hidden forever, and I was about to become the person who found them, not because I wanted revenge, but because the truth has a way of finding the right hands. The day I stepped through the gates of the Whitmore estate, it felt like crossing into another world. Tall, iron gates, perfectly trimmed hedges, a driveway so long it looked like it never ended. The house, no. The mansion was the size of a hotel. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, artwork worth more than everything I'd ever owned. They called it a modest home. I called it a kingdom. My job was simple: clean, stay quiet, don't ask questions. I was told to use the back entrance, never speak unless spoken to, and remember that I was part of the help. The Whitmores were powerful, the kind of people who never had to say they were important, you just knew. Mr. Whitmore barely looked at me. Mrs. Whitmore smiled, that smile that doesn't reach the eyes. And their kids, they were worse. Ava, the daughter, used to take photos of me while I was cleaning just to laugh about it later. And Grayson, the golden boy, he once asked if I knew how to read. I laughed like it didn't sting, but it did. Still, I paid attention to everything. Their voices echoed through long hallways. Sometimes I heard things I wasn't supposed to. Arguments late at night. Tears behind closed doors. A locked room at the end of the west wing, always locked. I kept my head down, but I watched and listened. Because rich people talk freely when they think you're invisible. At first, I thought they were just arrogant. Then I realized they were hiding something big. And the deeper I went into their world, the more I felt it, that chill in the air. Like the walls themselves were holding a secret too terrible to speak aloud. I didn't go looking for the truth, but somehow, the truth came looking for me. It started with little things most people would ignore. One day, I noticed the family photo in the main hallway had been changed. Same smiling faces, but someone was missing. An older boy who'd been in the photo the day before. I remembered him clearly: tall, dark hair, standing beside Mrs. Whitmore with his hand on her shoulder. Now, gone, like he never existed. I asked one of the other staff about it. She paused, looked around, and said quietly, "There were never for kids, just the two." Then she walked off fast, like she was scared to say more. That was the first time I felt it, that itch in your chest when something doesn't make sense. Then came the study. I was dusting the bookshelf when I noticed one of the books was out of place. It wasn't like the others, old, leather-bound, heavy. When I pulled it, the whole section of the shelf shifted slightly. I froze. Behind it was a small gap in the wood, and tucked inside, a torn piece of paper. It was a letter. The handwriting was shaky, almost unreadable, but I could make out a few lines. "I'm sorry for what happened. He didn't deserve it. If they find out I kept this, they'll ruin me. Tell the truth. Someone has to." That night, I couldn't sleep. My heart pounded in my chest like it was trying to warn me. But of what? The next day, I noticed something else. Grayson was arguing with his father in the garden. Their voices were low, but the anger was sharp. Grayson said something like, "I'm not going to lie for you forever." Later, when I passed him in the hallway, he looked at me differently. Not like a servant, more like someone who'd seen something he wished I hadn't. From then on, I started paying more attention, and the house started speaking to me. Not with words, but with signs. The locked west wing door that had fresh scratches on the frame, a light that flickered behind it late at night, even when no one was supposed to be inside. The old gardener who once whispered, "Some things are better left buried, girl," before shaking his head and refusing to say more. The Whitmores were hiding something. I didn't know what it was yet, but it was big. And the more I saw, the more I realized they'd do anything to keep it buried. But I wasn't afraid of the truth, because when your whole life has been a struggle to be heard, you learn how to listen between the lies. The more I saw, the harder it became to ignore. There was something rotten beneath all that luxury, something ugly hiding behind the chandeliers and perfect smiles, and I couldn't stop myself. I had to. No. So I started digging, quietly, carefully, not because I was brave, but because once you see a crack, you can't help but look through it. I began staying late, offering to clean rooms no one wanted to touch. The West Wing. That was my goal. No one ever went in, and no one talked about it. Even the other staff avoided it like it was cursed. One night, after the Whitmores had left for some charity gala, I made my move. I picked the lock. My hands were shaking the whole time. It clicked open, and the cold that hit me was the kind you feel in your bones. Inside was a room frozen in time. Dust covered everything. Old furniture, a cracked mirror, children's books on the floor, a photo on the nightstand, the same boy from the missing family photo. He was real. Someone had tried to erase him, but they'd missed a few pieces. In the drawer, I found a box. Inside were news clippings, old letters, and a death certificate. Eli Whitmore, age 17, cause of death, accident. But there was something strange. The details were vague. No date, no location. Then I found the police report, or what was left of it, half burned, like someone tried to destroy it. But one line stood out: initial. Evidence suggests potential foul play. I couldn't breathe. Was this boy murdered? By who? Why? I took photos of everything. My hands were sweating, heart pounding. I didn't know what I was stepping into, but I knew I couldn't walk away now. The next day, things changed. I caught Mrs. Whitmore watching me, not just looking, watching, too long, too still. That night, someone had gone through my locker. I never kept the photos there, thank God. But they were sending a message. I wasn't invisible anymore. They knew, and I knew something else too. I was in danger. But I couldn't stop, because Eli deserved more than a dusty room and a buried secret. He deserved justice, and maybe I needed it just as much as he did. They had all the power, but I had something else, the truth, and I was ready to risk everything to bring it into the light. I thought I was being careful. I thought if I moved slow enough, quiet enough, no one would notice. I was wrong. It happened late one night. I was finishing up in the kitchen when Mr. Whitmore walked in. He never came down that late, and never alone. He stood there, silent for a moment, then said, "You've been somewhere you shouldn't have." My heart froze, but I didn't flinch. I just stared at him, waiting. He stepped closer. "You think you know something," he said. "That's dangerous." I told him I didn't know what he was talking about. He laughed. Not the kind of laugh that comes from humor, the kind that says, "I own you. You people always get greedy," he whispered, as if truth means anything without power. That's when I knew he wasn't afraid of the secret getting out. He was afraid that I might be brave enough to let it. Later that night, I got a message. No name, no number. Just a photo. It was my mom, outside our building. Alone. My hands started shaking. This wasn't just a game anymore. They were threatening my family. I packed a small bag, grabbed the USB with all the photos and documents, and ran. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in a cheap motel room, staring at the evidence, asking myself, do I keep going or do I disappear? Part of me wanted to walk away, let them keep their secrets, protect the only person I had left. But then I remembered Ellie's face, that photo on the nightstand, the name on the burnt report, and the way Grayson looked at me that day in the hallway, like maybe he wanted the truth out too. I realized something then. If I stayed silent, I'd be just like them. So I made a choice. I didn't run. I got ready, because the storm was coming, and I wasn't hiding anymore. The truth doesn't knock politely. It crashes in loud, ugly, unstoppable. And that's exactly what happened. I sent the files anonymously to a local journalist known for digging up stories the powerful wanted buried. I didn't sign my name, didn't say where I got the evidence. I just sent the photos, the report, the letters, everything. Then I waited. For 2 days, nothing happened. The house went on like always, polished smiles, empty laughter, servants moving like shadows. But the air felt different, like something was about to snap. And then it did. The article went live at 6:03 p.m. The Whitmore cover-up. What really happened to Eli? It spread like wildfire. News outlets picked it up. Social media exploded. Everyone was asking, who was Eli? Why did they hide him? Why was his death erased? The Whitmores denied everything, called it a malicious fabrication, but the public wasn't buying it. Grayson disappeared from the estate the next morning. Rumor said he'd gone to the police. I don't know if guilt finally broke through his golden boy image, or if he just couldn't live with the lie anymore. What mattered was that he told the truth about Eli. How he wasn't just the forgotten son, he was the one who threatened to expose the family's dirty dealings. Their money wasn't clean. It came from people they ruined, businesses they crushed, families they silenced. And when Eli found out, he wanted to go public. That night, he never made it out of the house. The police had buried the investigation. Too many favors owed, too many pockets lined. But now the whole world was watching. Investigations reopened. Protests outside the Whitmore mansion. Even their so-called friends started distancing themselves. Power is loud, but the truth is louder. I watched it all unfold from a distance. I never stepped forward, never claimed credit. I didn't need to, because the point wasn't to be seen. It was to make sure Eli finally was. His name was back on the record. His face was back in the photo. And for once, the powerful didn't win. The Whitmores built an empire on silence, but one voice, just one, was enough to shatter it. Sometimes, justice doesn't come in a courtroom. Sometimes, it starts in a locked room, with a missing photo, and someone one thought would matter, finally deciding they do. After everything, the silence felt unreal. No more watching my back. No more fear in every shadow. For the first time in a long time, I could breathe. I went back home, back to that tiny apartment with the peeling paint and creaky floors. Only this time, something was different. Not the space me. I wasn't just the girl who cleaned other people's floors anymore. I was the girl who stood up to the most powerful family in the city and didn't back down. The journalist reached out weeks later. He said the story had inspired people, that others were coming forward with secrets they'd held onto for years. He called me brave, but I didn't feel brave. I felt human. That's the thing no one tells you when you've been invisible your whole life. Being seen feels strange. Like stepping into the light after living underground. It's blinding and beautiful. We didn't get rich. No sudden mansion. No movie deal. But my mom got the treatment she needed. I went back to school. And every time I pass a mirror, I look myself in the eyes and say, you did something that mattered. That's worth more than all their money. The truth didn't just set Eli free, it set me free too. And maybe, just maybe, there's someone out there right now listening to this, sitting in silence, wondering if their voice matters. Let me tell you it does. Because sometimes the most powerful people in the world aren't the ones with the loudest voices, but the ones who refuse to stay quiet. Looking back now, I realize something. It was never just about Eli. Or the Whitmores, or even Justice. It was about being seen. Being heard. Being believed. For people like me, people who grow up being told to keep their head down, to not make trouble, to accept that the world wasn't built for them. That moment of standing up feels impossible until you do it. I didn't have a plan. I wasn't special. I just got tired of pretending I didn't notice, of pretending I didn't matter. The truth is, no one is invisible. We're taught to believe we are, but deep down, we all carry something powerful, the ability to speak, to question, to change things one truth at a time. Ellie's story didn't end in that locked room. It ended with light, with truth, with you hearing it. And if you've ever felt small, pushed aside, mocked for where you come from or how little you have, let this be your reminder. They might have the money, they might have the power, but they don't have you. And sometimes, that's all it takes. Thank you for listening, not just to my story but to the ones that were never supposed to be told.